What's up, everybody? As we know, the NFL draft is done. It's in the books. It's over with after Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 2024 NFL draft was a very good one. It was very interesting as well. The most offensive players taken before a defensive player all time, 14 in a row. I believe the previous record was about nine. And then with that as well, the most offensive players taken in the first round. And I mean, just a lot of shakeups, a lot of questionable things happen, a lot of crazy things that I wouldn't have expected to happen. And overall, I thought it was a really good draft. We will be splitting a little series into three videos going through the draft, going through day one, day two, and day three, and talking about basically the draft and players as a whole. Obviously, for the day two, day three, since it's in multiple rounds, we won't be talking about all of the players. That is a lot of players to talk about. First round, we'll be talking about all 32 that were drafted, as we spent so much time talking about these guys, and talking about the general amount of people from these draft classes that went in the first round. Uh, First off, I want to say for personal reasons, we went through and looked, and 27 out of 32 first round picks we had picked correctly here on Wood Talk Sports, and that is something I pride myself on. That is something really big. The five that we did not get right, I know that there was four, which was Johnny Newton, Jackson Powers Johnson, Cooper DeJean, Adonai Mitchell, and then there was one more who I can't think of right now. Um, but five really good players nonetheless that I believe all five could have been drafted in the first round, if I could remember the other guy. But um, without further ado, before we get started, if you guys enjoy my content, you see yourself coming back, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Believe it or not, I know when YouTubers I hate when they do this, but I think it's 98% of viewers are not subscribed to my channel. And I'm at, I think, 160 something. I would love to be able to get to 200 by the end of my school year, which is in 2 weeks. So if 98% of y'all aren't subscribed, if y'all just press the subscribe button, it's free. It helps me out a lot, and we can reach my goal of 200 by the end of the school year. So without further ado, let's get started with Caleb Williams. Now, I think this is a pretty easy one to talk about. I mean, we all knew it was happening. He's an absolute stud. You can read the pre-draft analysis there. He's just one of the best talents we've seen in a long time. He was the number one overall pick. He models his game after Aaron Rodgers, which a lot of people will compare him to Aaron Rodgers, and I think it's very easy to say that Caleb Williams was at least an A pick, especially since they got rid of Justin Fields. So they basically said, yeah, we're going with a new guy, and Caleb Williams, I mean, is a prospect you won't see every year. So I'm gonna give the Chicago Bears an A+ for this pick. I don't think there's anything else you can do here except get this generational guy. And may I add, the grades are just grades for how I think the player, the fit, and where they were drafted, how it works together. Obviously, we won't know how these players pan out, but this is just a very early draft grade for how these guys did, how these teams did on drafting these guys, and basically what my opinion is on um, where the guys got drafted, how they will succeed in this team. I mean, that's really what I'm trying to get across. I don't know how they're going to be 5-10 years down the road, but that is what I want to talk about, is what I think about the pick itself, the pick in itself. But Caleb Williams, A+, pretty easy. Jaden Daniels now at number 2 to the Washington Commanders. I've been seeing a lot of people not really being the biggest fans of this pick. People giving it B grades. I saw a C grade, which I don't know how to think about. He plays a little reckless. He doesn't turn the ball over, but that doesn't mean he isn't reckless. He needs to learn how to run the ball, run the ball safer. Kind of another LSU quarterback that had to deal with that was Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow did not run the ball very safely in college. Obviously, he wasn't a scrambling QB like Jaden Daniels, but I really like the Jaden Daniels pick. I like Jaden Daniels personally as a player. I think that was somebody that I think teams wanted to probably trade up for. You saw the Commanders came out and said that it was either up between Daniels or J.J. McCarthy at number 2, which is crazy that Drake May wasn't even in consideration. But I think he did some fantastic things at LSU, which will contribute to how he plays in the NFL. I like the pick for Cliff Kingsbury's offense in Washington, and I like what they're going to be, how they're going to make smaller improvements this season with a pretty good offseason and wrapping it up with getting, obviously, your quarterback of the future, your hopeful quarterback of the future in Jayden Daniels. I'll give this Jayden Daniels pick an A minus, just because at this, I think there's not. It's really a toss up between who's the second best quarterback in the draft. Jayden Daniels, A minus. Now at pick number 3, we've got Drake May was drafted to the Patriots. Now this was probably one of the things that people thought maybe the Patriots would trade back, and I was talking about that in some of my last recent mock drafts. And then my last one, I realized, you know what, Drake May is going to be a New England Patriot. It's what's going to happen. It's going to go 1, 2, 3 QBs. I was really anticipating 4, 5, 6 wide receivers, but obviously that didn't happen. We'll get to that pick. But I like the Drake May pick as well. I think he's going to be able to create in New England. They also went and got him a couple weapons in Javon Baker and Jalen Polk. You look at the Patriots situation right now. Obviously, their team was really bad last year. Hopefully, those rookie wide receivers can contribute. But I think Drake May, having him as the building block to your team, is big. And he's not known as a dual threat, but he can run the ball when you need him to run the ball, and that is something that I think is very valuable about Drake May for the size that he is. He's a Josh Allen type build, Justin Herbert type build, who I wish I would have done a draft profile on, because I loved watching this guy in college, and he's able to find people whenever and wherever. So Drake May, I'm going to give an A grade. I thought this was a very good pick. I think it's a little bit better, especially because the Patriots were able to get him some weapons as well. I just think the Commanders is a little worse of a situation than Drake May in New England. So we've had all A's so far, and it's going to stay that way with this pick. Marvin Harrison Jr., my favorite prospect, and probably the best prospect, him and Caleb Williams. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals was a match made in heaven for Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray gets himself his wide receiver 1. He's finally got it. After losing Rondale Moore and Hollywood Brown, you get Marvin Harrison Jr. I believe that is correct, yeah. And he's an absolute stud. He's going to be an elite player. His dad was elite. He's polished everywhere in his game, it seems like. And he is somebody who is going to be, has the capabilities of being a future Hall of Famer. And he's going to be capabilities of, depending on how the Cardinals do, being Rookie of the Year. He's a fantastic player overall. Not much I really need to say in depth about him, except the fact that this is an A+ grade. So we're going to have our 4th straight A grade, and I really like this pick for Arizona. Here's the first probably controversial pick for the draft. A lot of people in the public didn't really know how to feel about this one. They thought Malik Nabers would be the better pick here at 5 to the Chargers, but I really do like the Joe Alt pick. He's an absolute behemoth of a man at offensive tackle, at left tackle. And the big thing is keeping Justin Herbert safe. As much as as much as you want a wide receiver, a pass catcher, they got one in round 2 with Ladd McConkey, which we'll talk about tomorrow or in 2 days. But Joe Alt is just like, that's a big need, is to keep Herbert safe. He struggled with some injuries. He had the hand injury last year. You don't want him to be getting hurt all the time. And Joe Alt is better overall for the team than it is just for getting a receiver, getting a playmaker. Because Alt can make a difference in the pass game and the run game. And I think Harbaugh knew what he was doing by getting Joe Alt here. And he's able to do a lot. Joe Alt's going to be able to do a lot at left tackle for the Chargers, and really be able to help the whole offense and contribute to the entirety of the offense, rather than a wide receiver who's just going to be able to help in the passing game. Joe Alt was a great pick here. I'm going to give Joe Alt an A. I thought that was a fantastic pick at number 5. Now, at number 6 to the Giants, I am so glad they didn't go wide receiver. didn't go quarterback, didn't go J.J. McCarthy. I'm so glad they went wide receiver, and I'm so glad they went Malik Neighbors, who is an absolute stud of a player. I'm gonna say right now, Malik Neighbors is an A+ pick for me. I think the Giants needed themselves to solidify that guy. Daniel Jones is a little bit of a question mark, but you finally give him a wide receiver. That's been the question all along. Daniel Jones has never had a wide receiver. Give him a wide receiver. His wide receiver one has been Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, uh, what's his name? Sterling Shepard. Like no wide receiver one. His wide receiver one last year was probably Darren Waller as a tight end. An aging one too. You finally get him a weapon. Malik Neighbors is such a stud, and I mean he's the all-time leader at LSU for receptions and yards for a reason. He's just explosive player, a great player. I have Malik Neighbors at an A+. Now at pick number 7, J.C. Latham got picked at number 7. He jumped up the board quite a bit. It seemed like. I think they kind of panicked because Alt wasn't on the board anymore. I like the right tackle play, actually. After looking at it, they did need a right tackle because they just drafted Skornowski, who can play interior but is also more of a left side of the line guy. You get Latham, who's an absolute unit of a man. Put him on the right side. I like the pick. I think they probably could have traded down and gotten him later, gotten some draft capital. So that's why I won't be grading this an A. This will be the first non-A draft pick of the draft so far. I'm going to give J.C. Latham a B. I think it's still a good pick. I just think they could have gotten him a little bit lower. Who knows? Maybe there was a reason he was jumping up, and like insider guys making mock drafts had him at 5 or 7 or 9. I like Latham as a player. I think the spot he could have been put in, the spot he could have been drafted in could have been a little bit lower. They could have waited, maybe try and traded with the Raiders. Say, hey Raiders, I know you want Michael Penix Jr. How about you come trade with us? Give us your 13 and a couple of more stuff, a couple more jazz. Give us another first rounder. They could have gotten another first rounder, but they stick at 7 and take J.C. Latham. So I like the pick, but I don't like the spot, so I'm gonna give it a B grade for Latham. Now at number 8, this one, the shocker of the draft. Everybody went, "Whoa, this is wild!" when they saw this one. Michael Penix Jr. drafted by the Falcons, who just inked Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal. It doesn't really make much sense when you look at it. Why they would do this? You could be saying, oh, they're getting their QB for the future. The problem is Michael Penix is going to be 28 when he gets his first career start when Kirk is up. Are they trying to start QB controversy here in Atlanta and maybe shake things up, have a guy come in 2 years later? Maybe, but I don't understand the reasoning behind giving Kirk Cousins this big deal and then going and get Michael Penix. Because, Penix is a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I love the dude. I watched him at Washington. He's probably one of my favorite players in the draft this last year. But I don't like the pick. I don't like the pick for Atlanta at all. Rumors were that they were trying to trade back into the first round to get Laiatu Latu. I think maybe what you do is you trade back with a QB needing team who would have easily gotten Michael Penix, like the Vikings or the Broncos or the Raiders, one of those teams, and then just take Latu with the pick that you get from them. I think that really, I thought the Michael Penix pick for them was a very bad decision. They don't need the QB fit. Even if I don't like Desmond Ridder. He's bad. You still have Desmond Ridder, I'm pretty sure. And you have so many more needs. Your defense is not that good. You just need to do that more, and you don't. So the Michael Penix pick I don't like. However, I do like the player, so I won't be giving it an F. I think personally it is kind of an F pick for what they need, but because of the player you're getting, I could put it at a D. But I don't like it at all, actually. I just don't like the pick. So it's going to be a D- to F. I said I don't really want to give it an F. I still think it's an F pick. I love the player himself is not an F pick, but the draft pick is an F. I'm giving the Falcons drafting Penix an F. Now, to go on the complete other side of the board, this one's going from F to A+. Rome Odunze at number 9 to the Bears is a fantastic pull for Chicago. Having him, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen, they went from one of the worst wide receiver cores 2 years ago to one of the best wide receiver cores this upcoming season. Odunze is an absolute stud. He broke school records. He's a threat. He just can catch the ball whenever you get it to him. He's great, great after the catch. I mean, it's perfect for someone to pair up with Caleb Williams, who you just drafted number 1 overall. You're putting Caleb Williams in a phenomenal situation, and Odunze is contributing so much to that as well. I love the pick. Not much to say other than this is an A-plus pick, Rome Odunze to the Bears. Now, at number 10, to J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings. This one changed a little bit. They traded up, I think, is because they thought some teams were going to trade up for McCarthy with the Jets. So they just wanted to basically solidify it. The trade I was okay with. It wasn't too big of a trade, too big of a deal. It was just one draft, one spot up, and I really like the McCarthy pick. I like J.J. McCarthy as a prospect. I think he's going to work well in the right scheme. You put him with the Vikings, who have the best wide receiver in the NFL, in Justin Jefferson. You have the J.J. to J.J. connection, and I think that J.J. McCarthy is a great pick at 10. I think his draft stock boosting, really helped him out, and just like people liking him more and more. I think Harbaugh also kind of helped him out. I really do like J.J. McCarthy. He had the good record as a starter. He doesn't have the greatest sample size, but his stats are there when he does have the sample size, and that's something that I really value with J.J. McCarthy. So, I think he's in a good scheme. The Vikings did a fantastic job in the draft, may I add. And J.J. McCarthy, I'm gonna give this an A- pick, just because of you feel like you had to trade up. Feel like he could have probably fallen into your lap at 11. But it's a fantastic pick. I'm going to go A-, B+ range. So that was a good one to round up the top 10. Now at number 11, I like this one. Olu Fashanu at number 11 to the Jets. Now this one has his ranking overall as 17. He was still my my offensive tackle 2, my second favorite on the board. And I didn't rule this out for the Jets, despite getting Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses. I thought that they still really could go young offensive line, because that offensive line, the offensive tackles especially, are still pretty old. So I think he's athletic and he looks great. To me, he may not have played the entire combine, and but the thing is I really liked him. He's going to be really good. Your main priority is keeping Aaron Rodgers safe, and as much as you maybe could have gone with the Brock Bowers here at pick 10 or 11, I think Fashanu is the perfect pick for keeping Rodgers safe, and then their next QB of the future, which we might talk about on the day 3 episode with Jordan Travis. That is such a key thing, and I think there's so many good playmakers for tackles, and getting Fashanu was very vital. So I'm going to give that an A draft grade. I really liked that one. Now my next little head scratcher, I think the Broncos really just panicked because there was no more quarterbacks on the board, and they didn't want their rivals to get a quarterback. Taking Bo Nix, who had the best single season completion percentage, 77.4, had a great year. 45 touchdowns all through the air, 6 on the ground, very little interceptions. He's just had a lot of experience in college, and really became a well-crafted player throughout college. I also like the fact that they paired him back up with Troy Franklin after drafting him in the 4th round. I like Bo Nix. I do. I really do like Bo Nix as a quarterback. I just think the 6th quarterback off the board here, obviously. I just think that 12 was probably because they needed the quarterback position. I think they were very worried that teams behind him might draft quarterback, so they went and got a quarterback at 12. I like the player for their fit because they don't have a quarterback right now. Obviously, they just got Zach Wilson. I'm not really the biggest fan of the pick at the spot and whatnot. I'm gonna give Bo Nix a C+. I think he could be good for them in the future, so I can't really give him anything worse than that. I'm gonna give him a C+ just because I don't really like the pick. Now, Brock Bowers at 13 to the Raiders. I really do like this pick. A lot of people don't, because they could have gotten a better player at this and a better need at this, but this guy is a blue chip prospect. He is a guy that you don't let drop past 13. As a Saints fan, if I would have seen him at 14, I would have been completely fine with them taking him at 14. So I like that the Raiders did this. They didn't want to pass up on a guy like this. However, I'm a little questioned by it because they did just get Michael Mayer last year in the second round, and I thought Michael Mayer was a very good tight end prospect. But Brock Bowers on the board, still available. You give, obviously you didn't really go with a quarterback in the draft. You give Minshew or Aiden O'Connell another weapon to try and work with. Who's going to be the starting quarterback? I don't know. But Brock Bowers is a fantastic player. I'm going to give this pick a B. I'll give it a B plus for the player. I don't really like the spot. Yeah, B. We'll give it a B because I don't really like. I think the Raiders could have gone different ways, but I think this is a very good player. So a B grade for that. He's very like a George Kittle in my opinion. So now at number 14, Talisa Fuaga. As a Saints fan, I freaking love this pick. I was so ecstatic. I mean, in the first place, it's sad that we really need to be drafting offensive tackle with how much we've really tried to focus in on that with especially Trevor Penning in 2022, and he's been a disaster. But we went and got ourselves Fuaga, who is a stud at right tackle. You ask the question, can he go play left tackle? He can play both, in my opinion. No sacks allowed throughout his college career. You look at what the Saints really need is offensive tackles, and with the uncertainty of Ryan Ramczyk, and then obviously the disaster that has been Trevor Penning so far, offensive tackle was a perfect pick. Obviously, yeah, you do see Dallas Turner available, and your defensive line isn't great, but your offensive line is something that really, really is bad. So I like the Talisa Fuaga pick. I'm going to give the Saints an A here. And I think overall the Saints had a fantastic draft. Now at the 15th spot, the first defensive player to come off the board, that is Laiatu Latu. I thought that Dallas Turner would be the first defensive player off the board. And I kind of underrated Latu a lot in the draft process. I was a little worried about the medical concerns. However, that was a while back. And he really was a fantastic player at UCLA. 23 and a half sacks in the last 2 seasons at UCLA. And he's very, very good. He's molded to be an NFL edge rusher. And the Colts are a team that really could have used some help on the D-line. I thought they would go DB, maybe go wide receiver. I thought DB was the biggest concern. So I liked the Latu pick. But I thought DB would be the biggest concern. I'm going to give them a B plus for this, just because I thought DB was the bigger concern over edge rusher. But Latu is a great player, so I can't give them anything lower than a B plus. Now at 16 to the Seahawks, Byron Murphy. He is a great player. I mean, I thought they were going to go O-line or D-line going into the draft, Fatanu or Murphy. And Murphy was available at 16, and I was not surprised at all. I told all my guys that I was watching it with, if they go Murphy here, I would not be surprised. He was a guy that I think can do a lot for Seattle, especially get a younger guy on the interior D-line. Obviously, they believe they re-signed Leonard Williams, but he's outstanding on the run game. He could have some improvement on the defense on the pass rush, but his run game defense is phenomenal, and that's something that I really, really value. Obviously, if you can stop the run game, it's going to be very easy to defend the pass because you know they can't do the run game. And Byron Murphy being picked here was something big. I thought he would probably be the second defensive lineman, edge rusher, and D tackle taken, but I like the pick here. I'm going to give the Seahawks an A minus. I think a lot of these picks overall have been very good picks. So, I mean, you could say, oh, this guy's really just giving everybody A's and everybody B's, but I thought a lot of the first round picks were very good. I thought they were very well done. This one here, though, Dallas Turner, the Vikings trading up from 23 to 17 to get Dallas Turner, I really, really liked. As I said, I thought he'd be off the board in the top 10, so he's an absolute freak athlete, and that's going to transition to the NFL. And with the way that he is and the player that he can be, I'm going to give Dallas Turner pick an A+. I really, really like this because they lost Danielle Hunter, and they now have an absolute athletic freak in Dallas Turner. to be their main guy, edge rusher, and it's just something that they needed. So I love the pick. I'm going to give it A plus. Now, Amarius Mims to Georgia. I was interested that he went this way because he only had 8 games of play. I didn't think he'd go above Troy Fatsanu. And questions about him going maybe over Tyler Guyton until recently I kind of like realized it made sense. He has the tools to really be a very, very dominant offensive lineman, especially because of his size, 6'8", 340, and right tackle, playing at right tackle. This would have been a very good thing. Obviously, they got Trent Brown, I believe it is, from New England to sign with them. But you get a guy who is a very developmental offensive lineman with only 8 games. I think that comes with repercussions. You don't know really immediately who he's going to be in the NFL. So I'm going to give Amarius Mims. I'm going to give this pick. I think that's something they needed. It was like their top need was offensive line. But I think that I would put that pick at a B minus. I like the pick, but it's not the greatest pick. B minus kind of solely because of the positional need. So, but now at number 19, I'm gonna get another A plus here. Jared Verse to the Rams, just absolutely buffing up that defensive line. They got Braden Fisk as well in the second round to hopefully replace Aaron Donald. And Jared Verse, man, he is one of the most talented guys you'll see in this draft class. Somebody that I had going as high as 8 or 9 to the Bears or the Falcons. His way of keeping his hands active all the time when he's playing is something that is unseen and unheard of. And he just adds on to this deadly-looking defensive line here in Los Angeles post-Donald era. A-plus grade for Jared Verse. Now, here is another A-plus grade. I know, a lot of A-pluses. Very interesting ranking system. Troy Fatsanu dropping to 20 and the Steelers getting him is a steal because now they can play him at tackle, guard, anywhere they need him to be. The Steelers did a fantastic job in this draft. Back-to-back A-plus A drafts, in my opinion. Getting themselves that O-line buff with him, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, they really attacked that. And then last year they got Broderick Jones, obviously. They really attacked that. They also had some fantastic picks like Roman Wilson in the third round. But Fatsanu is an absolute stud of an offensive lineman who can play a lot of places, and he's able to be dominant, and he has a lot of range. So I'm going to give that an A+. Now, at pick 21, Chop Robinson, my guy who I talked about in one of my draft profiles. His tape is very impressive. He doesn't have the stats based off of how he produces on the field. He caused a lot of problems. He completely changed that game against Michigan. They completely abandoned the pass because of how good of a pass rusher this guy is. He is fantastic, and I like this pick for the Dolphins when they've had a lot of edge rusher problems with Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. I saw maybe defensive tackle here with Johnny Newton, but apparently there was a bigger concern, which dropped him into the second round, and the Commanders picked him up. But I like the Chop Robinson pick. He is an absolute speed demon off the edge. I'm going to give this pick a B+. I really like the player. With the team that he's going to, they kind of worry about that edge rusher spot, so I like Chop Robinson, B+. Now, A+ grade right here. I'm just going to say it. Quinyon Mitchell. How on earth does the NFL let this man drop 22 to the Philadelphia Eagles? The Eagles have done it again. They get themselves another absolute stud. Last year, it was Jalen Carter who fell to number 9, who they ended up drafting. This year, it's Quinyon Mitchell who drops to 22, and they get to draft him. It's like, how do we let this still happen? And then they go get Cooper DeJean in the second round. They just got 2 fantastic corners. This dude, one of the fastest corners, second fastest at the combine. He's also physical as hell. He's strong, dude. I mean, you saw his bench press, and then he had 32 pass breakups over the last 2 seasons. I mean, he is fantastic. He's going to fit right in. That's a very needed position for the Eagles. So Quinyon Mitchell, A+ grade for Philadelphia. Now, for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brian Thomas Jr. I liked this pick. They were really rumored to go wide receiver. I think they could have probably gone a different route. I think DB was a really big concern with the wide receiver depth available. They could have maybe gone DB and then gotten a wide receiver later, but they really were saying they need a replacement for Calvin Ridley, and Brian Thomas Jr. is a guy who can do that for you, who is a tall wide receiver to throw to. Most touchdowns in college football last year. You can give him 50-50 balls and he'll come down with them. He's also extremely fast, 4.33. This is around the same range I had him going, around that mid-20 spot. So I really do like this pick. I don't know if it was the number one guaranteed. I'm going to give this pick a B because of Brian Thomas Jr.'s production value and how he can be. I'm going to give it a B, B+. I really like Brian Thomas Jr., so I thought it was a good one because they do kind of need wide receiver. I think they could have gone somewhere else. It was a perfect spot for him. Now, my next A+ is Terrion Arnold. The fact that the Detroit Lions, whose biggest concern, they made the NFC Championship game, and the reason they lost is their defense. Their defensive backcourt was awful. They could have gone edge rusher. I think corner was their number one need, and the fact that Terrion Arnold just fell right into their laps is beautiful, and that is an A+ player right there. I had him going top 15 guaranteed, in my opinion. Top 15 guaranteed, and he went 24 to the Lions. The Lions trade up, I think, was a fantastic idea with Dallas. Dallas went and got their guy who I thought was a very good pick for them at 29, and Terrion Arnold gets to go to the Detroit Lions, who one of the top corner prospects, an absolute playmaker. You watch his stuff, he's fantastic to watch. He doesn't shy away from tackling. A+ grade for Terrion Arnold to the Lions. Now, next pick is Jordan Morgan to the Packers. I understand why they went offensive tackle. I think Tyler Guyton would have been the better pick here. Yes, your big priority is protecting Jordan Love, but I don't think this was the right spot for it. I think you could have waited. Gotten a guy like Guyton, or, in my opinion, should have drafted Cooper DeJean. I think DeJean at 25 would have been a beautiful pick. But it wasn't the case. It was Jordan Morgan. With that, I think this is a very average pick. I'm going to give this a C to C-. I didn't really like the pick that much. I don't think it's terrible because you do want to protect Jordan Love, but I think it's a slight reach, and I'll give it a C. Now, Graham Barton to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this was exactly where he was going to land. He played left tackle in college, but he is going to be a center in the NFL, and that is exactly what the Buccaneers needed. I hated the fact that he's going to fall right into the Bucs' lap because I don't like the Buccaneers, but it is a fantastic pick for Tampa as they do need the center position. I think Graham Barton could have gone a little earlier. Him falling to 26 as well, I think, was great for Tampa Bay. This is an A- pick, in my opinion. And Tampa Bay gets themselves a good center. So now at 27, the Cardinals, they went and got Darius Robin, who was one of those guys that I did expect to probably maybe sneak into the first round and get drafted. Did I think the Cardinals would go the edge rusher route? No, I thought they would go Johnny Newton or corner, and they went Darius Robinson. But I'm not the biggest fan of the pick. He's a good player. I like him a lot. He's a very polished player and a very NFL-ready player, in my opinion. May not be the fastest player, but his tape is very impressive. I thought it was a little bit of a reach for Arizona. I'm going to give this pick a B, I say. I'm going to say B-. I think Jerzon Newton would have been a better pick here, but Darius Robinson was the best edge available, and edge is also a need. 28, the Chiefs traded up with Buffalo to get Xavier Worthy, and a lot of people blew this out of proportion because of that 4-2-1. I think Xavier Worthy is a fantastic wide receiver prospect. He'll be good. He has the threat to just pull away from people, and he is just very fast. He's a good returner. Adding that weapon to Mahomes' offense after also getting Kelsey to a 2-year deal. I like the pick. I think Adonai Mitchell available still would have been is a better wide receiver, but I think Worthy fits better for the Chiefs. with all that being said, I'm gonna give this a B plus. The only reason I'm gonna give this a B plus, if this was any other team, this pick, first round pick, Xavier Worthy would be a C minus. Um, the only reason he gets a B plus is the situation he's going into. He's going into the defending back to back champs, with the number one quarterback in the league. Um, this team probably could have used a tackle over a wide receiver. But I think Xavier Worthy is perfect for this team. Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice if he gets to play, and uh, and then Travis Kelce. So I really liked it. I thought it was a little bit of a reach though, but because it's the Chiefs, he goes, he gets a B plus, a B plus B. Now at 29, the Dallas Cowboys picked Tyler Guyton, who I really really liked. So he's a very raw prospect, but he looked good. He is very big. He was a former tight end, so he has quickness, and he can be a starter. You know, the Cowboys needed to get an offensive lineman really put into their game plan and put into their offense because of the losses on their O line this offseason. It was either Guyton or if Graham Barton was really what they wanted. I thought they would go Barton at 24, but I think Guyton's a good pick at 29. This pick, I would have to say, is an A minus. I thought it was a very good pick for Dallas. It fits their need. It fits. He's a great player. He's a plug and play guy. So A minus for them, for the Cowboys. Number 30 now, the Baltimore Ravens somehow managed to get Nate Wiggins at pick 30, who Nate Wiggins I love. Only corner to run a sub 4.3, 4.28. His speed is absolutely dynamic, and his ability to be very competitive in 50-50 balls and being able to push the ball out, and knock the ball out of the air. He's good. His tackling could use some work. He's not the biggest guy, 173 pounds. He has that Sauce Gardner-ish build, honestly. The 6'1", 170 pounds. I really liked him. He only allowed 18 receptions last year, and he still can go up. He's not afraid to tackle. He misses some hit. He's not afraid to. It says on here the 2023 game against North Carolina is an excellent example of his tackling and his pursuing, which is very, very true. And he's also able to hawk people down. You watch him hawk people down and he'll punch the ball out. It's fantastic. So I like the Nate Wiggins pick. That is an A pick for the Ravens. Now, pick 31, the 49ers pick Ricky Pearsall from Florida, which kind of shocked me, honestly. I mean, I don't know why. They said they didn't like the personality traits of Adonai Mitchell, I think. I think it's BS. I think Adonai Mitchell, if you're going to go wide receiver, would have been the best pick here. I think they should have gone offensive line. Obviously, they didn't. They went Pearsall, who is very good. He's good at adjusting for passes, as we saw, like that crazy pass against Charlotte, the catch that he had. I do think this is a reach. He's got very good cuts. He knows how to create leverage. This made me really think that Debo or Ayuk is going to be gone. However, neither of them were traded on draft day, so we may not see them get traded. I like it for the uncertainty that you have, but I think it's a little bit of a reach. I'm going to give that pick a C plus for the 49ers. Now, to wrap up the first round, the Panthers traded with the Buffalo Bills, who got the 32nd pick from Kansas City, to trade into the first round to get their guy who they said we're going to get at 33, Xavier Leggett, from South Carolina. He's a physical guy. He's 220, 4.39 40-yard dash, which was very fast for a guy like that. He had a lot of yards per catch, 17.7. He's able to track the ball well. I really like Xavier Leggett as a wide receiver prospect, and I think he's very similar to one of his teammates, Mingo from Ole Miss, which Matt Miller also agrees, but he plays very similar, and I think this is smart. I like the fact they traded into it because they probably want that fifth-year option on the player, like Xavier Leggett, so I like it. I'm going to give it a B. I don't think it's an A pick. I think they probably could have gotten him in the second round, but I think they did it to get that fifth-year option and make sure that Buffalo didn't do it. So, Leggett, he wraps up the first round with that B grade. So, I think it was a perfect pick to end it. And that is the first round for y'all, man. The draft was a fantastic time. I mean, I had a great time watching it, and that is your first round reactions. If you want to, if you're ready for round 2, 3, day 2, and then day 3, make sure to like this video. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit the subscribe button as it's free. That's it for me, and that's all for this one. We'll see you when we hit day 2. Let me know what you think about what your team did, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.